topic again, I will just repeat the last slide. Our first part of exploration, we're going to approach it the following way. First, theoretical background, think about the definitions. Secondly, current trends in the field. Going to present our research on schools here in the United States. Last but not least, we're thinking about the situation analysis here at the University of Oregon. Okay, let's get started with a theory again. Adaptive recreation, what does that mean? Adaptive recreation basically means we're going to take disciplines like soccer and make them accessible to people with physical or mental disabilities. That's in a traditional sense. We have soccer, we have a blind person in order to match them together and give them equal opportunities to play and compete in this sport. We implement blindfolds for everybody and a bell for the ball. In contrast to that, we have the term inclusive recreation. And the main difference of those two terms is that inclusive recreation captures more. If we talk about inclusive recreation, we don't talk in a traditional sense only about physical or mental disabilities, but we talk about all demographics. Means gender issues, we talk about age issues, socioeconomic characteristic. Does everybody have enough money to participate in sports? We talk about gender issues, religious issues, but also about physical and mental disabilities. So from a global standpoint, inclusive recreation just covers everything. And it demands for itself to integrate everybody, regardless of their demographic characteristics, and integrate them in a way that ends in full acceptance. The picture you can see here is a picture of a 10K run and row. This is a smart idea how you can market a running event in order to target especially people that are physically ill. Within our presentation, we want to recommend you going the inclusive approach just in order to have the broad picture in mind. However, our findings mostly will go back to people with physical and mental disabilities. Since I've covered this first part of the theory, I would like to hand over to Brian, who's covering the research.
Thank you, Jascha. The way we gathered our information is we had a total of 25 schools, but only 12 schools replied, 10 schools from the US, and 2 from internationally from Germany. We asked them, we created a basic questionnaire for each of these universities. One, asking about the programs, what they would offer. Second, what was their marketing strategy behind each of those events. How they got. Third, gather the research for these events. Fourth, methods is how they chose these programs. And lastly, if there was a staff member directly responsible for these tasks or an entire staff. Thirdly, we did communication. The way we did that is we either go by phone interview, email, or Skype interviews. And lastly, we had to acknowledge from gathering all this information from these schools, acknowledge our limitations. And by that, I mean, we did not use a standardized method in our research. We had an open-ended question for each of these universities. Research findings. Each university had no statistical data of what their population of disabled people were. None whatsoever. Secondly, they used a trial and error method. They just tried things, see what would work. If not, they would just put it on the back burner, maybe bring it back, but just keep on going to the next event, see what works. Third, there are very popular adaptive rec programs, such as wheelchair basketball, which is really known. Arkansas University has a big wheelchair basketball league. Also, another one is sit-to-hit volleyball, and then special events such as Jascha stated earlier, the 5K run and roll events. Fourth, target demographic is for these events are mostly for people who are physically disabled and mentally disabled. Lastly, each of these universities had an easy, accessible hub for information. So I can go on their website, click on what programs they offered, which staff members were involved for this, and the accommodations for all these. Now that I have explained our research, I'll hand it over to Britt to speak about our goals and objectives.
Thank you, Brian. Before we get into the implementation stage, I'd like to state our current situation at the University of Oregon. For current programs, we offer once a year intramural activity for inner tubing water polo, and past program offerings include adaptive cycling as well as adaptive dance. For the information on our website, Amanda Beringer is our contact as well as an outside source to the Accessible Education Center and our and the SRC's mission for creating an inclusive environment. However, it doesn't state specific what they have to offer. For example, our marketing tactics, such as our 5K Freedom Run, do not include participants that would roll, walk, or have any other form of making that 5K. We have an abundance of available equipment here at the University of Oregon, which just states our point again that you already are to the point of wanting to include everyone here. For example, we have a way for different able people to get into our pool, as well as raised stretching platforms, crank cycles, and wheelchair storage. Our implementation plan and the rest of our presentation will be broken down into the next 3 steps. Goals and objectives, strategy and tactics, and finally our implementation stage. Our vision: create an all-inclusive environment where everybody enjoys full acceptance and feels welcome to participate in recreation. In order to make that vision possible, we have a 3-pillar step program for a pyramid to help our vision stand. Our smaller screen to show how we can be adaptive in our program. First off, create an inclusive identity, followed by awareness of that inclusive identity, getting the word out that we have it here. And our third step, to implement a programs plan, which Xavier will be talking about in a moment. Our goals and objectives. Feel free to not read this, and I will tell you what it says. First off, create a more inclusive environment by implementing staff training that is derived from the best practice models from leading organizations in the field of inclusivity, and ensuring that all equipment needs for people who need it are met. Create easy, accessible information hubs that serve the full needs of the population of physically disabled people by beginning of fall 2016. And lastly, implement at least 3 proposals that serve especially the needs of the people with disabilities by the beginning of fall 2016. Next, I will hand it over to Xavier to show you some of the ways we think that these goals and objectives can be met.
All right. So phase 1 of our implementation plan begins with creating our inclusive identity. This is the base that will start it all and set us off on the right track. Our first proposal is to first create a new position within the REC, known as an accommodation assistant. Now, we realized the difficulty of implementing a new staff position within this short amount of time, so we have a more feasible option of simply adding the responsibilities of this accommodation assistant to an already existing staff member's responsibilities. This accommodation assistant, the model was derived straight from Ohio State University's equivalent. This position is on a per request basis, meaning that the individual needing the assistance will need to contact us in advance and schedule this assistant's time. There are strict can-dos and can-nots that this position has responsibilities for, some of which are escorting the individual in and out of the building, escorting them through the building, assisting with reading and filling out forms, as well as explaining directions and how to use some equipment. The can-nots are strictly, they cannot advise or physically train the individual, and they cannot assist with any activities within the locker rooms or the restrooms. The second part to phase 1 involves implementing an all-inclusive staff training. So this is for all staff members within the building, both proper language to use and also the proper interactions for people who have disabilities. Some of the resources that you can use to gain these guidelines are certifications such as certified personal trainers, lifeguards, as well as contacting the Accessible Education Center, or AEC. And also found within our portfolio are a couple of online resources that we found to be leading knowledge within this field. Okay. Phase 2 of our implementation plan involves creating awareness. So letting the community know that we have these resources and these people available to these accommodations available to their need. So first, we would like to say simply just broadcasting that we have these new positions and our staff members have this new responsibility both online and within house. Meaning all information should be easily accessible on the homepage of our website. A one click straight off the directory should take them to everything they need to know. Also, all staff in-house should be fully knowledgeable and able to explain the different responsibilities and accommodations that we have available. Part 2 would involve creating an interactive accommodation map. You can see a prime example of this at Oregon State University.
This is not it.
This tool will also have pictures, locations, and descriptions of all the physical accommodations that we have within the building, such as the crank cycles, the elevated stretch platforms, and even wheelchair locker or wheelchair storage. Third part to this would be simply changing the title of some of our programs that we offer. So as was stated earlier, any running events we have, simply changing them to a run and roll. Run and roll. Any cycling events, change them to something to the effects of a crank and cycle class. And finally, for phase 2, we propose that you implement a change to the academic PE classes. So we propose that any of the physical sport-based PE classes, such as volleyball, one day out of every term is dedicated to an adaptive version of this sport. So volleyball, one day at a term, they teach sit volleyball. All rules and proper positioning and skills needed to conduct this. This would be a great opportunity to raise awareness and understanding of the disabled population within our student body. Okay. Phase 3 of our implementation plan is much simpler but much more broad in a sense. We ask that you focus on the programs themselves. This is what most people think of when they think of adaptation and inclusive rec. This is what we're going to be doing. So some examples would be blindfolded yoga. In this sense, you don't necessarily have to change the yoga class at all. Simply make having blindfolds optional. We want to promote this, of course, so that way it involves being more inclusive in its marketing. But simply adding them as an option we feel like would be optimal. Blindfolded cornhole. This does involve a little bit more change to the actual nature of the game. So for the most part, the rules and regulations are in line with regulation cornhole rules. The biggest difference involves changing the actual structure of the platforms that you'll be tossing them on. The boards will be bigger as well as the target hole that you're aiming for. So what you'll see here is our proposed timeline and cost. The first column here, position, refers specifically to the accommodation assistant. Keep in mind that we base this off the thought that you would add the responsibility to an existing FOS staff member who makes $10.25 an hour. We estimated that they would work approximately 2.5 hours a week, so that would total our cost at paying them $250 a term. Also, keep in mind that we'd like to see this implemented by staff training at the beginning of September. In the second column, information communication marketing, this involves our tools for the online map, the marketing, and also changing the titles of some of the classes. We'd like to see this implemented by beginning of September as well. Even though this is technically phase 2, with this shorter time span, we'd like to see that this implemented in sync. And if it is executed as proposed, it'll be free of cost. With the inclusive PE lessons, this is a little bit different. We'd actually have to wait till class starts, so that would be the second half of September. But if it is executed as proposed, we could estimate that you spend up to $30 on materials for some of the things in class. With blindfolded yoga, also free of cost if executed as proposed, because we already have the blindfolds necessary. And with blindfolded cornhole, we will need to buy new platforms for them to toss onto. We estimated that it would be approximately $240 for 2 sets. This is a quote from our maintenance technician, Jim. After buying materials, construction, and painting the platforms, he quoted us saying it would be $240. also be implemented in the second half of September. Thank you for your time.